Hello, family. It's your sister Jocelyn here, and welcome to another episode of Faith on the Journey. If this is your first time tuning in, we welcome you. We are so glad that you are here and want you to know that we're committed to helping you strengthen your faith, heal your heart, and discover a sense of community. And we do so through a variety of ways by connecting you with a team of Christian counselors and offering trauma healing trainings across the country. You can learn about these resources and so much more by visiting our website at faithonthejourney.org. Again, that is faithonthejourney.org. Now, today we are welcoming to the show a woman of God who is really helping people to understand that we need to take care of ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, particularly around our health. And we are talking about toxic stress today and the impact of toxic stress on our bodies, our emotions, and everything else. And so I am excited to welcome to the show Dr. Leona Allen, the founder of Freedom Health Systems, and she is dedicated to empowering women to attain greater freedom in their health and lives. She's created customized programs around this to help others in this area. She has a number of degrees. I can't even read them all, but she is Dr. Leona. And you're going to hear about all the great things she's doing today. And I'm so grateful to welcome her to the show. Thank you, Dr. Leona, for being here today.
Thank you, Reverend Jocelyn, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, yes. Well, when I met you about a month ago at this conference, and we were just engaging in conversations, and I just felt, first of all, I love your voice. It's just so calm. It's like, I just could just relax as I talk to you. But your wisdom was just that I said I needed to have you on the show. So thank you for accepting my invitation. And I would love for our audience first to learn more about you and your story and what led you to go down this path of working in this field, because you had a different background, right? Before working in
Yes.
health.
Yes, absolutely. Well, once again, thank you for having me on the show. And a little bit about me. Yes, I was an engineer before I became a doctor. And now we're talking about toxic stress. And it's kind of ironic how a lot of the stress in my life is actually what led me to what I do today. So looking back, I feel like I was driven by stress. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But about my story, I did start off as an engineer. Fast forward, I got the degrees and did the school thing. But underneath the surface, I just wasn't happy. And at the time, I didn't know why I wasn't happy. But fast forward, I went on this transition. I left engineering and then went back to school, decided to get a degree in chiropractic. And with that, I got immersed in healing and natural healing. And then I went through my own health crisis. After being in practice for about 5 years, I ended up overweight. And there's a lot of gaps in this story. I'm missing, leaving a lot out for sake of time because I can go on and on. I'm in my 50s, so I got lots of stories. So here I am, fast forward, I've been in business in my second career for about 5 years. I was, goodness, I was in my 40s. I was married. I was running a practice. I had two children. I had my children at 36 and 40. Ended up overweight, gaining about over 70 pounds, pre diabetic, fatty liver disease. So that was really the tipping point in my life. So it was really that instant that made me realize not just about stress, but understanding stress and how to utilize stress and being more aware of it. Because sometimes we go through life not really understanding how stress impacts our lives. But that at 41 was when I was like, ooh, I need to do something different. I felt like it was do or die at that moment. So thankfully, by the grace of God, I chose to do and listening to that voice. And that's what really pushed me to that level I'm at today. So I had to go through the pain, and it took faith to really go through this part in this part of my journey in my life, where I'm now a better doctor, a better mother, a better friend, a better person. When you invited me to be here, and it's just an honor just to know that it was my story that helped me to connect to the men and women that I work with, because I know not just understanding stress is important, but actually how to utilize stress. Because the more we understand it, the more we understand that it is a part of our lives and that we can use it. So as we go into the toxic stress, I can help you connect that relationship between healthy stress and toxic stress. But you have to understand what stress is and how it can be healthy before you can completely understand how it is toxic.
Yes, let's go there. Break down the difference between healthy stress and toxic stress.
Okay, I'd be happy to. I'm kinda quirky, so when you think about stress, because I can kinda correlate a lot of my life with health and healing and weight loss, because when I went into my healing journey, I would say it was 90% faith and believing in myself and 10% action. So I believe that once people understand that, first of all, they can actually move forward from what they're going through in their lives. So, when you're going through any sort of healing, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, sometimes as we grow up, we think all stress is bad or we don't understand it. And sometimes we misinterpret healthy stress as toxic stress. So, our bodies need stress. Stress gets us out of danger, stress makes us move. But because of the confusion of what the differences are, we end up stuck or actually doing more harm to our bodies than goods. For example, if there's a natural stress, for example, I don't know, I don't have anything off the top of my head, but sometimes people tend to medicate or avoid natural stress,
Like
right?
studying for finals, doing a paper, a report
Right,
maybe could be,
right.
or exercise.
Yeah, like procrastination is actually an example of avoiding healthy stress. So it's like
Mhm.
sometimes avoiding stress can just be as bad as going through some of the stressors that we're going to go into in this episode. So let me use an analogy because this is something I use for a lot of my clients and people that I coach. It's like, say you're in the woods and you're just minding your business, grilling some burgers and having a good time, and here comes a bear. All right. So healthy stress is there's a bear. Let me get out of danger. So you use all the energy in your muscles. The blood goes to your muscles in your legs. And so you can run away. And then you get into a place of safety. You find a tree, climb a tree or find a cave or whatever. You find safety and the bear moves on. And once you're safe, you go back to your life as normal. That is a healthy stress. It gets you out of danger. You make a quick decision. Instead, the alternative that many people do in our modern world is they'll say, okay, it's a bear. Let me mask the pain. Let me take a medication so I'm not afraid anymore. Or let me build a shield or something. Or, just try to do something else to keep the bear away or try to talk to the bear. So we try to do things that, no, no, bear, so we got to understand that, okay, stress, quick action, get out of danger. Once you're out of danger, get back to your life, but don't stress over it. Don't have PTSD and don't be constantly, where's the bear? The bear has moved on, has forgotten about you. But once we're out of stress, sometimes we relive the moment over and over again. And that's when it becomes toxic. So, number one, it's toxic when you misinterpret the stress and take the wrong action. And the other way is when it's chronic and you don't allow it to let it go because the mind doesn't know the difference. Whether you're thinking about the bear or you're actually around the bear, the body doesn't know the difference and is still secreting those same toxic hormones and the inflammatory things that happen in the body and the brain. And then you go through life afraid of anything that looks like a bear, talks like a bear, has the name bear. So that's where a lot of these fears come from because we haven't been able to learn how to manage stress. And a lot of that happens at the time we're children. So if you're not taught how to manage stress or you were overprotected or you weren't allowed to face things or the mom did it for you, then we grow up as adults. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of when I'm coaching people through training or through health coaching and things like that. They have not learned how to decipher what healthy stress is and what toxic stress is. And then they've also have learned not to handle it. So here they are in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, dealing with the same episodes, or they're still thinking about that bear that tried to attack them when they were 5 years old. That bear is long gone. Why are you still allowing that stress to affect your life today? And that is where it becomes toxic.
Wow. You said a lot, Dr. Leona, and that's good stuff that you shared. We need to know this. I hear avoiding, I hear not being able to release it after it's happened, carrying it with us, and this can show up whether it was a stressful event, a traumatic event, something that was just difficult for us to go through, and how does that impact our bodies? I know you said some of the decisions you made was, like, maybe overeating, so that could be one, but what else can happen to us physically? We'll talk about physical first as it relates to toxic stress.
Well, what most people are aware of is, oh, when I'm stressed, I overeat. I want sugar, salt, or smoke or drink. So some people will just try to numb that stress with physical activities like that. But what a lot of people don't understand is that when you are undergoing all this toxic stress, you secrete a lot of inflammatory hormones, especially cortisol. And that is huge. It is secreted, and as a result, you store fat. Your body, your heart doesn't work as well. Your heart is constantly beating, which eventually leads to high blood pressure. It can affect your memory. That's why when people are in a lot of stress, they check out and they have a hard time recalling things. So there's a lot of physiological events that happen when you're stressed. Now, short term, it's fine. So think about it. When you're running from the bear, the body is shutting off digestion and shutting off all the other functions, because your body is not going to say, oh, you're running from a bear, let's go to the bathroom first. It's going to shut it down, your digestion, everything. You remember, I was eating a burger when that bear showed up. Let's get all that blood, pump all that blood so you can get out of danger. But think about it. If that stress never went away, the food never gets digested. All that blood is constantly pumping, eventually puts stress on the heart, which leads to high blood pressure. The brain is stressed, which leads to memory loss. So it's just so many physiological things that happen. And if it goes on too long, it does destruct the body, period. And the younger it starts to happen, the longer you're in that process, the more dangerous it becomes. But short term stress can be healthy. All right. But it's that chronic stress that becomes toxic. Okay, for example, a glass of red wine here and there isn't as dangerous as chronically drinking all the time, because it gives your body a glass of wine, your body can assimilate that and process it. But when it becomes chronic or you're doing it too much, then it becomes toxic, it becomes overloaded. So that's how the stress is. Because I say, for example, you can have the perfect diet, you can eat well, and that's what's happening. People want to lose weight and feel better, so they start to eat. But if you're still under that chronic stress and you still have that bear in your life, it doesn't matter. So it's that stress overwrites almost everything you're trying to do. And people don't realize that.
That's real, and it's so interesting and sad too, even for myself. I went to the doctor a couple years ago, and they said that Jocelyn, your body processes certain experiences as if it's stress. It releases cortisol levels at a higher rate, and I'm like, this is something I need to be mindful of. And I also had to learn that my, let me say, meter, if you will, is not reading properly, because I am operating at high stress levels all the time, and I'm thinking that this is normal. I've just become familiar with being stressed out all the time. So I think our baseline sometimes can be in which we're used to operating on 10,000 constantly, and we think, "Oh, I'm handling it," because that's what we do. We're strong, we hustle culture, grind until you drop, all the stuff, and we make that normal. But if it might be normal to you, but it's not healthy. It still could be doing some things to you if you are operating on 10,000 all the time, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you made a good point, because what a lot of people don't realize is they become addicted to that high level of cortisol and adrenaline. They call them adrenaline junkies. They become addicted to that high level of stress. When that bear goes away, they're like, where's the next bear? I want that feeling again. So when they're calm, something's wrong. It's this boredom. Because I get people when things are calm, they're like, oh my goodness, they need that stress. They need that grind culture. They need something to do. And I used to be that person until my body finally shut down. But yeah, people don't realize they can be addicted to the drama, addicted to the stress. They want that bear. And we can interpret that bear to be many things: an abusive relationship, a toxic relationship. People get addicted to that. And you got to be mindful of that. Because remember, when I said once you understand what healthy stress is, you can understand what healthy stress isn't. And once you become mindful of it, you can start to find that place of safety so you can heal. But a lot of people don't even realize they're in danger because they've gotten addicted to it.
Wow, 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 wow. And I appreciate you saying that because it could be in things that are, like you said, abuse, but it could also be certain things in our work life, in our home life. It could be just a number of different things. It doesn't necessarily have to be trauma. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to recognize, okay, what is healthy stress? What is toxic stress? How is it impacting us? And this is where mindfulness work, I'm sure, plays a big role in what you do. Can you talk about the mental work, the mindfulness work that you walk your clients through to help them with this?
Well, the first part of mindfulness is being aware of it because there's a lot of people walking around in denial. So you got to be honest with yourself because it's hard to really break people out of it if they don't realize it's a problem. They'd be like, "Hey, that's life. That's just who I am. That's just what I do." But we got to understand that the connection between your thoughts, your actions, your stress, and how it's impacting your life. And then once you get to that point, you got to start to take action. But what I'm finding is you can tell people all day long, do these things to get into a place of safety, get into a place of healing. But as I've been in practice for 20 years, and I realize that people won't, there's like a lack of connection between finding the desire to get safe or get out of stress and taking action to get out of stress. I'm telling people this is what you do to get out of stress, to lose weight, to get healthy, to be happy. But there was this lack of connection. They're like, no, I want to stay here. I like this bear. I don't want to get out of that place. So they're actually afraid to get out of safety. So then I realized what is going on. And that's where faith comes in. First, they got to believe that they're going to be okay because they've gotten so used to the place that they're in. They're actually afraid of the place where they could be. So they have to believe, they have to have faith, and just know that God will protect them when they come from a place of stress to a place of safety. And that's what I'm finding in epidemic proportions, that people are actually fearing leaving their stress. Like, what'll happen if I leave this toxic relationship? What'll happen if I leave this toxic job? Am I going to be able to find another job? I want to start a new business. What happens if what, and that's where faith comes in. Once you say, you know what, I believe that I can do it, then that's where the action comes in. So really, number one, faith is number one. And number two is take action. And that's where coaching and mentoring and podcasts, because you can't do it alone. You have to have that knowledge, especially with someone who has been where you are. If you've been dealing with health issues, find a health coach. If you're dealing with emotional issues, find an emotional spiritual therapist. So there's so many pathways that we can take to get there. But there's meditation, there's prayer, there's faith, there's action steps, and I can't really get into specific action because it's different for everybody. They first have to understand where they are and what their desires are, and then they can move on and take that next step. So it is a process, and then it didn't happen for me overnight, and it won't happen for other people overnight as well. So I think that's what fears people, because they've been in that place for so long. And then they realize, man, it'll take me a minute to create this new life. Do I have another 10 years to do that? And that's what scares people. But just know that, hey, just start taking the steps and you will get there. Because when I started my journey over 10 years ago, I didn't know where I was going to end up. But I knew if I just start walking away from it, that it was better than staying where I am. So we got to get more focused on where we want to be, and just know that where we want to be has to be better than where we are. But we just got to start making moves to get there.
That's right. Sometimes we have to make that first step. And I think to your point, sometimes we can look at someone such as yourself and see where you are right now and be like, man, I can't do that. But this was 10 years in the making. It wasn't like you just completely just transformed overnight. It might have been just one thing that you stopped doing or one thing that you started doing to make this transformation take place. And I think the lies that we tell ourselves sometimes around I can't do this, I can't afford to do this, I think is one of those things where we have to shift to say I can't afford not to make these changes because it's extremely costly. And that's that short-term gain for, long-term punishment or however that phrase is, because sometimes we can have short-term gain from what we're doing that's unhealthy. It might be like a reward for us in that moment. It might feel good, but the pain later that we will experience for keeping these bad habits or holding on to the comfort is so severe sometimes. We don't even realize it. And so it's like pain now or pain later. Am I going to choose the pain right now of changing certain habits that I've become accustomed to? What's comfortable for me, giving that up? Oh, it hurts. It hurts to stop, eating these sweets, or it hurts to, slow down and give up these, whatever it is. I know it's hard, but listen to Dr. Leona here because because these changes, I mean, as painful as right now, it pays off later. You'll feel better as you start making these changes. But if you don't, it's the consequence there. So pain now or pain later is the choice that we have to make, I always say.
Yes. And one thing I didn't add is when people are going through the process, they got to understand that stress is a part of life. Too many people try to avoid all the stresses, but that's what makes us stronger. Think about mountains. I think they were made from stress, right? Diamonds, they talk about that analogy. I don't remember analogies very well, but a lot of times the diamonds come from stress. So once that's what helped me and a lot of my clients just know that freedom comes from the struggle. Freedom comes from stress. So I get a lot. So once I learn how to listen to the lessons and not listen, learn from the lessons and learn from the stress. Let me go. Another analogy. Here's the bear. I love the bear analogy. The bear is running away. The next time, so some people are like, I'm never grilling again in the woods. But the next time, have create some barriers, learn from that. I go camping. Sometimes at night, when we're not cooking, we'll hang the food up in a tree. We'll put wire around the campsite. So sometimes you have to next time prepare better for it and eliminate those problems. But sometimes like I'm never doing it again. I did it once. Oh, I'm not doing it again. So we got to learn how to learn from it and just know it's all part of it. And another way of getting out is saying, okay, what can I do to prepare me for the next time? What can I do to navigate this next time? And we have to be able to be willing to do that as well.
Very helpful, very helpful. So don't give up camping altogether. Don't give up whatever it was. You can learn from it. Life has stress. Life, and we know this as people of faith, is full of suffering. Until we get to glory, we are going to experience real stuff in life. But how do we manage it? And also having the right community around you, right, Dr. Leona? You mentioned counselors, coach, friends, maybe create some boundaries or barriers around people who are causing the toxic stress. We might have to do that.
There's that
And so
wire fence.
that's that
Boundaries,
wire
yeah.
fence. Yes, we love boundaries. With that, Dr. Leona, is there any last closing comments or just words of advice of someone who's listening to this right now and they're saying, "Man, I've been taptoeing with some toxic stress for some years now," and they don't know where to start, what to do? Any words of advice for them?
Just have some grace, just know that everything happens for you and we have to be able to utilize those experiences to grow. But instead, we're using those experiences to hold us back. But once you start to break through and just know that everything that is happening for you is your lesson in life. That's why we all go through life with different stressors. Some of us have stressors with our homes, our families, our health. Goodness, it's just, we all have our own battles. But once we start to reconnect with that and just know that this was put in our lives to happen for us and to help us grow, then that's where the healing begins and stop being in a place of a victor and not a victim.
Mm, I love that. Everything in life happens for you. Shifting, that's that mind shift work that you do with people, I love it. That mindset, if we have more time, I'll probably have to bring you back for a part 2 to talk about that. Uh, but where can people find out more about you and your work, Dr. Leona?
They can go to my website, drleona.com, drleona.com, and they'll find all my other contact information. So that's the hub. Check out my website. Got a lot of great information on there as well, some resources, updates, and all that good stuff. So that's where they can find me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you for the conversation today. I enjoyed it. I picked up some nuggets. Imma remember that bear analogy.
Yeah, people remember stories and analogies, so that's why I had to put it that way.
Love it. Thank you, Dr. Leona. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks again for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Faith on the Journey. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know what to do. Please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review. And I check these reviews now. So if you've been listening and tuning in week after week, leaving a review helps us to get our message out to the world. And so I thank you in advance for doing that. Also, if you're looking for a Christian counselor, check out our website at faithonthejourney.org. Again, that is faithonthejourney.org. So that's it for this week, family. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, you stay encouraged and you keep your faith on the journey. I'll see you soon, family.